Well, we can cross now to our Washington correspondent, Ketevan Gorjestani. Ketevan, Trump there laying out a series of phases to the lifting of lockdown measures. Tell us a bit more about what needs to be in place before confinement is eased, and are any states, in fact, ready to go?
Well, the first important thing to note in those guidelines is that there is no longer that timeline. Remember, we're talking about that May 1st deadline. Well, that is no longer written there. It's up to the states. There is that gating criteria. That's the beginning of this new three-phase process. And the gating criteria is mostly based on looking at the data, looking at the numbers, and seeing a decrease, a continuous decrease of the number of cases over a 14-day period of time. That's really what kicks off these three phases. Phase one would see some businesses reopen with strict social distancing, but schools would remain closed. For example, bars would remain closed. Then you would have a second phase that would open up a little bit more with schools reopening, with some non-essential travel being allowed again. And finally, phase three would be pretty much the new normal, with still some measures of social distancing, but pretty much all businesses being able to get back on track. Of course, the important part of all of this is the testing, because to monitor all of that, you need to test, and that is really the key. There are some states, of course, if you look at the bottom of the table of the number of cases and deaths, states like Alaska, like Montana, North Dakota, that could be the first ones to come out and to start reopening. But again, you have to look at the testing, and you have to be able to show that there is that decrease, and be certain that your state is not having some cases that are not monitored.
So definitely a slower return to any form of normal than what had previously been hoped for. But also, Ketevan, give us an idea of how governors are reacting to these suggested plans.
Well, governors have pretty much taken the high road, and they've basically started doing their work without waiting for the federal government's guideline, because there was this little battle between Donald Trump and the governors about who would get to decide when those states would reopen. Donald Trump now backing off of the fact that he has the authority. He's now leaving it up to the governors, but the governors have already started working on it. You had the West Coast led by California, who created an alliance. They said they would be working together to decide when to reopen. You have the Northeast, led by New York, of course, that are working on possible reopening, but New York not reopening, not lifting those stay-at-home orders before mid-May at least. And now you have a new cluster, new alliance in the Midwest, led by Michigan. So really, you're seeing the governors working together in their region to find the best way for them. So they're not really paying close attention to those federal guidelines, and they're just using them as a base, but they're working as far as they are concerned in their region, in their state, and their cities.
Okay, Ketevan for now. Thanks indeed.